Well, this blower started making some funny noises on me, so I decided to tear it down and see if the brushes were okay and everything else. And one of the things that I noticed was a lot of this really hard black stuff falling out. This is dried up creosote. I put a creosote sweeping log in this burner, and it pretty much did what they said it would. This was a really tarry substance in here, and it is now just like a really dried, flaky ash that is actually not the tar that it used to be. And I think what had happened is, I don't know if you can see this piece right there in my impeller blade. It's just finally starting to flake off and was vibrating strangely due to the imbalances caused by the residue. It's a lot cleaner than I would have thought, though. I mean, this thing is consuming direct exhaust right off of this burner. Fire shoots down this entire tube. I know that because it gets extremely hot, and only fire being directly inside of that would make it that hot. I'm just saying that based on observations of other devices I've built and tested. That anytime you're getting up to 700 degrees, usually it takes direct flame contact to achieve that. I don't run it at that level, but I don't really have an easy way of busting this thing open. But it's definitely got some debris in there. I'm going to try to cut it open and then make it where I can put it back together. I'd like to get this thing running tomorrow. The brushes were in great shape. I mean, they were like that long still. And I have heard that brushes can run on one of these motors for 6 months straight. So, don't know if there's any truth to that or not, but I'm going to try to get this open somehow and see what it actually looks like as far as buildup is concerned, because I was curious as to what type of buildup we would see. You can see that big old chunk right there. So yeah, it's got a little bit of stuff on it. I almost wonder if sending some sand down this thing wouldn't have cleaned it out. Well, there you have it. This thing has ran many fires and had minimal buildup. The creosote sweeping log did take a lot of that stuff off, I'm thinking. This thing's nowhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be. One of the things I wanted to note that I found was making noise and some problems was that when you go to hook brushes back up to a motor like this, in the beginning they kind of need to be properly aligned. Just adjusting the in and out and the up and down, this angle and that, made a huge difference. So what I did is I fired the motor up and had it running as I was adjusting these brushes, and you can literally hear the motor speed pick up depending on whether I was angled it one way or the other. And I had them hooked up fairly improperly in the beginning, because when you run this thing at full power, a fireball would encircle the commuter, which is what led me to believe I had an improper alignment in the first place. But eventually over time the brushes would wear down and things would probably work themselves out. But initially you kind of want to realign your brushes, and I did that with this motor running. I got this thing working okay again, and it blows a pretty impressive amount of air at just 40 watts. I mean, that's quite a bit of air. I know you don't know what I'm talking about, but the rattling sound is gone. Not getting any sparks really. So I know I'm lined up nice and good. Now before, when I would do this, I would have a fireball all the way around that thing. But by adjusting those commuters just right, the fireball was eliminated. And doesn't seem to be making the rattling noises it was. I think I got all that debris out of the impeller, so now the vibrations have subsided. The bearings seem to be fine. I mean, this thing is fairly easy to turn. maybe just a tad bit of resistance there. Nothing I would want to worry about just yet. So that was the main thing I was worried about, is this bushing failing because of the heat that it's operating under. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how long this thing lasts. So far, so good. This thing don't look like it's going anywhere anytime soon. If anything, the bushing in the front is going to fail where all that heat's at. I haven't been able to get inside this thing and take a look at that because this thing's just so hard to get apart. I glued it together a while back with JB Weld, and I'm reluctant to cut it open now that I have it fixed. So I may just let it run until the bearing does indeed fail, seeing as how this blower was free